Welcome to this week's episode of the Inspired Podcast. I'm your host, Andrea De La Cerda. Today we have a very special guest. Lisette Hendricks is a personal stylist and also the owner of Love Your Style. She started her company with a goal to create a safe space for women in their styling journey. Her mission is to help women find their unique style in a way that honors their bodies. She focuses on finding clothing that resonates with a woman's authentic self and helps her feel comfortable in her own skin, the way she was meant to be. Through years of research, learning styling systems, and dressing her friends and family, she figures something out. The approach that we are typically taught as girls and we use to choose clothing today only leads to disappointment. And she would not let that happen to her and any of the women around her anymore. So I'm thrilled to have Lisette on the show today to help us think differently about how to authentically approach our own personal style. Welcome, Lisette. It is so great to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here. And yeah, this is something we've been planning for a while, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I think I was inspired to have you on the show when you came and styled me. I mean, you went into my closet, we went shopping. You also threw out a lot of my clothes. Like, never wear this again, never wear this again. So it was really inspiring too, though, like when understanding your philosophy behind styling. So I'm so excited to have this conversation today and share it with our audience. Why don't, first off though, Lisette, tell me a little bit about you, your background. How did you get into doing work like this in the first place?
Yeah, it's been probably ever since I was a little girl. I would go into my mother's closet and I would style her clothing and I would pick outfits out for her. I was very young and it's just been a passion of mine for years. And I would take my friends, take my family members, and just absolutely feel built up and energized by picking outfits out for them and getting them just to look great. And that led me into wanting to explore more about how to properly style people. So I read a lot of information, and both of my grandmothers had taught me how to sew. They were both professional seamstresses, worked for companies. And so that really led me into more of a creative outlet. I wanted to design my clothing. I made my patterns. So I was about 15 or 16 years old and I had a blast with that. Due to time constraints and, having to get full-time work, I wasn't able to sew as much, but that just stayed with me, that creative outlet of putting things together. With time, my friend said, why don't you do this professionally? Why don't you, start a business? And I was excited. I said I hadn't really even thought about this as something that I could do. They said, you definitely can. I received so much encouragement from them, and they helped me just start off small and use all of that knowledge that I had accumulated and experience and make this something that I could now do and work with.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, you really do have a special eye, a special talent for it, something that certainly I don't have. And I think most, I think most people, we figure it out as we go, or we let the magazines tell us what we should be wearing,
Yes.
or celebrities tell us how we should look or what we should be wearing. And that is not your philosophy at all. So I'm excited to let's dive in. I think that what was interesting for me when I experienced, your work with you was how much stuff it brought up for me, to be honest. Not really like proud to say that, but I was like, wow, I didn't realize I had all this, whether it was like an attachment to a certain type of like baggy sweater that it felt like it was like covering all the important parts, or a color that I thought I liked that it really wasn't about liking, but it didn't do anything for me and for my face. So, I mean, it was an interesting emotional experience. Do you find that with your clients?
Yes, I do. And when I started doing this professionally, I realized this was happening quite often. And so now, whenever I start a session, I ask people specifically, how are they doing today? How are they feeling today emotionally? Because it really does. There's so much more attached to how we dress and how we pick our clothing that has to do with belief systems, our mothers, our grandmothers' belief systems, the culture around us belief systems. And to dig through all of that really requires a safe space. And that's something that I try to create when I'm going through all of this. Definitely.
How do you create that? What are the steps that you set up to create this safe space for someone so that they really feel like they can step into this with you authentically?
Yes. So first I will ask them how they're feeling that day. And I will ask them, how are you feeling about your body today? Because if they are in a negative space, it's probably not the greatest day to go over that. And I'm willing to reschedule with them. Second of all, once they let me know, yes, I'm in a good headspace for this, I'm very careful about how we approach things. I don't like to use words that have anything to do with fixing anything, about creating a different body image, anything like that. I try to use words and I try to talk about the situation in a way that only is uplifting, only encourages us to look at our bodies in a beautiful way and to see it, the beauty that is in each one of us and the unique beauty that is in each one of us. I use words that harmonize, work with our colors, things of that nature, because I don't want this to be a discouraging experience at all.
Right. I think that because it works. I think that, trusting you in part of this process is that on the other side of that, when, we can fully embrace who we are, who we were born to be in our uniqueness, and then learn how to dress for that, style ourselves for that, it really makes a huge difference. And for me, anyway, I can speak for myself. I mean, the confidence that I feel, I mean, this shirt, for example, right? I mean, I learned from you that this is the color that I need to wear, right? So
Yes.
I made sure this morning I'm picking out one of Lizette's colors for me, but it matters, these things, right? Like I, it's almost you experience it and then you feel the difference in your body. It's really quite something. It's incredible. But so tell me about your process with a client after you sort of set that space for them. Do you go over like what is the full picture that you're looking for? Because it isn't just color, right? It's also body type and what else?
So I researched a lot of different systems and I found the ones that seem to honor the way I approach styling, which is to really take the person's unique beauty and learn to enhance that if they choose, or just honor it if that's what they're looking for as well. So what I look at, I start off normally with things that are foundations. So it's going to be body harmony, the way your bones are, your height, the way that your body looks to view visually. So, where you're wide, where you're narrow, and none of these are negative terms. These are just descriptive terms about your body. From that point, I go into color seasons, which that has to do with the natural coloring in our flesh and our eyes and our hair and how that interacts with each other. And then the third thing I like to go over is style and the person's approach to style. Some people approach style with personality. Some people approach with what they're looking to present themselves as in that moment. And you can have a combination of those or you can have only one. And so I will take those three elements and kind of put it together into a simple formula for you to follow that's not overwhelming, especially when you're picking out clothes or getting dressed.
Oh, and that was a big one for me to remember, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's jam packed. I mean, I like from when I get up in the morning and I go to work out to like all of my stacked meetings,
Yeah.
it was like sometimes I will joke that I like a Steve Jobs type of style, like just give me the same thing to wear every day, like I'm fine. But I want to step it up. I want to, make an effort, but I don't have a lot of time either. Do you have a
Yes.
few tips that you can share with our if there's anyone in the audience that's in that in that same position as me. I'm like, I'm not sure. Maybe part of it too is like not sure if I completely trust myself to spend all the time to go in or I would go into my closet and be like, oh, it's like overwhelming sometimes. I needed it to be super easy for myself. So maybe a few tips might help people if they're like,
Yeah, definitely, especially when we're short on time. One of the first things I will ask people is what is their percentages of things that they're doing? So in a week, what is your percentage of working? What is your percentage of working out? What is your percentage of errands? And what I will ask people is to look through their closet and ask themselves if the percentage of their life matches the percentage of their closet. Because what we have the tendency of doing is buying a lot of pretty things for a night out, which is a very small percentage of our time. And so that can be overwhelming when we're going to our closet and we're just wanting to run an errand or we have a business meeting. And so going through the closet and matching the percentage of your lifestyle to your closet is really going to be helpful. Also, whatever time you can spare, maybe one day, just putting a couple of options together, one or two options of working out, one or two options of a business meeting, one or two options of errands. And then that way in the morning, when you only have 5 minutes to get ready, there's something ready for you to pull from your closet. And those are things I will recommend, especially for any who don't have a lot of time. And then also keeping those percentages in mind when you go shopping. So making sure you have enough of each item in your closet. And if you're missing that, then you can kind of look for that when you're out shopping.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you were full of so many great simple tips. I mean, I was
Thank
just
you.
soaking it all in, right? I mean, there's just a wealth of information that's really super practical, but then also just very supportive and healing, I think, too. Like,
Yeah.
was really, I love this topic because a lot of what we talk about on this podcast is really finding alignment back to yourself, and
Yes.
that includes, being honest about how much time I have in the morning to really get ready, but I don't have to sacrifice my own style or the way that I feel in my body just because I don't have a lot of time. So, and I think that showing up as our authentic self and everything from the uniqueness of the color of our hair and our skin and all of that, how that plays into our coloring as well as our body type is for whatever reason so difficult for us sometimes to talk about and to go there. And
Hmm.
and yet why? I mean, I think that, certainly there's pressure from external pressure on women as there is, and we talk about a lot of different types of topics on this podcast about that external pressure, but I think this is another example, right, of that, we a trend might come out and
Yeah.
this is the trend that everyone is jumping on and it's like, well, does that trend work for everyone?
Right.
And maybe not. So you were telling, because I would follow the trend sometimes and be like, oh, I think you should just not do the waist, the,
Yes.
the low waisted jean. Like, don't ever do that. I'm like, but it's there. And you're like, don't do it. I don't care. Like, just like things like that, which I think it's interesting to look at this topic from a place of healing in the mind, body, spirit healing, and also how just this can bring so much authenticity back into your life in a way that we some didn't know it was even missing. So, what are some of the things, like what are common pushback or emotions that come up for women when you're talking to them? And does it come from that external pressure sometimes? Maybe talk about, like, where does it come from?
Yeah, it definitely does come from that external pressure. I like to think about it in a way of honoring our grandmothers and our mothers. They were told so many different things. They didn't mean to pass this all on to us. They just thought it's how it was. And it was very heavily promoted about the idealized figure. And it was all about symmetry and it was all about the hourglass figure or the tall, thin figure, whatever was in style at that moment, which changes. And what happens is that we were taught as women, the majority of us, to use clothing to fix whatever our body had that was not in line with the ideal figure. And so when we look at ourselves in the morning, if the first thing that's coming to mind is, how do I fix me? We're already starting in the negative.
Right.
And I think that is a lot of the pushback is when I'm encouraging to basically, how does your body look like? That's what you want it to look like in the clothes. That's a whole new concept. What do you mean? What do you mean
Wait a
I'm
minute.
not
Yeah.
creating symmetry?
Hold on there. Okay, so what my body looks like is what I want my body to look like in my clothes, not
Yes,
use my clothes to fix my body to look different. Okay,
correct.
that's a pretty massive paradigm shift, Lizette.
Yes.
People like
Yes.
lifting their jaws above the floor now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if I have a tummy, I then good, great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's where I get a lot of pushback, but I understand it because I did that myself when I started really researching this and wearing clothes. And what I did was I just had to go to I encourage this is go to like a place where I don't know, a grocery store or something, and just wear the outfit that shows the real you. And then you'll find that most people are more concerned about what they look like than what you look like. And you'll also start to realize that you'll feel more confident, but you also just really bloom. When we're and I'm sure this is something you've noticed, and I think when you start to honor yourself, whatever that is, whatever your look like, whatever you feel like, when you start to honor that and say, this is me, this is my body, this is what I look like, and you dress it up and you show it to the world, that really creates a glow from you. You're not doing this, you're not trying to hide, you're not sucking in, you're not and there's this confidence about you that other people will notice. And I do encourage my clients to start small. I had to start small. But as it really you really start to see how you feel, how you stop thinking about what you're wearing and start enjoying the moment. There are so many vacations that all I worried about was what I look like, and I missed the
Mm.
views, I missed the experience. And now I throw clothes in my suitcase and I go and I just want to experience the moment and understand that, hey, this is me. This is beautiful me, my beauty. And I want every woman to feel that way. I wish I could have every woman feel that way, but it's something that is very important to me. So if you have a round belly, it's a beautiful round belly.
I mean, you bring up an interesting point that I don't think about this, but it's true. We don't think about how much time we spend thinking about how we look. I mean, even
Yes.
subconsciously, or when we're not even meaning to, but how much time that takes up, or space in our brain, energy that takes, just worrying about what I'm going to wear, or do I feel uncomfortable in this outfit? Does it look as uncomfortable as it feels? All of that does take away from the present moment. And that's such a good
Yeah.
point. It really, it's almost inadvertent. We do it so
Yeah.
automatically.
Mhm. Yeah, and it was kind of, shown to us. It was taught to all the generations before us, and it taught to us. So undoing that is not going to come quickly, but I I do like to see even in small steps when a person just feels so much better when it fits them well, when clothes the purpose of clothing is for us to live our lives. It's not to make us look better.
Mm.
It's to really have us live our lives, to have this thing. And obviously we'll use it for a business presentation, right? There's certain imagery that will evoke certain feelings, and that is only natural. But when we're using it to live our lives instead of trying to fit into the standard of beauty, it's freeing.
Wow. Yeah, that's such an important point. Can you talk real quickly, just give us an overview of the coloring and then body types and what the different categories are, like what people might be. I loved
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It was so interesting to be like, well, which one am I? And
Yeah. Yes, yes. So I researched different things, and one of the things I researched was a certain way of looking at the body from a David Kibbe, and I really liked his approach, and so I wanted to sort of mimic that approach and sort of see how that was. And what it is so clothes are sewn in a certain way. They're made to maybe either come in at the waist, maybe they're made with certain style of stitching that creates movement or things of that nature. There's also certain textures on clothing. And so when we are understanding our bone structure, everyone has a different bone structure. Some people have a longer bone structure, so their limbs may be a little longer. Some people have a short stature is short bone structure. Some people have a broader bone structure. And then that is heavily going to influence how clothing interacts with you. So if you put something on and the lines of the shoulder are not where your shoulder is, it's going to look like it doesn't fit you, right? It's going to create maybe a different thing, but there's no one right way for clothing to fit. Clothing in the past, you used to go to a tailor, they measured you, and then you had a perfectly tailored outfit. And actually, they still use professional tailors for all of the movie stars and people that are, on the runway, or they tailor it to them. And so we're missing that. We go and we buy clothes that's pre-made. So I like to talk about the different structures. Some women are going to have a broader shoulder line. Some women are going to have a narrow shoulder line. Some women have a shorter rise. Some women have a longer rise. Where everyone's waist is completely different. So I like to do measurements and make sure that people know it's not you, it's the dress. It wasn't made for your measurements. So trying to pick something out for those measurements. And for clothing, and for coloring, and for the body types, there's about 10 different ones, and it can look very different on each person. So there's no one way to be that different structure. There's no one way. Two people can look very different. That's why it's so unique. That's what I loved about it, was you can learn the tailoring to buy, but it's not going to work for every single person, even if you have a similar bone structure. The other thing is the coloring. There's 4 seasons. We've known this for years. This is something our moms talked about. Are you a winter? Are you a summer? All these things.
Yeah.
And so, but now they've done new systems where there's like a 12 system or a 16 system, and those kind of narrow the colors down. I usually focus a little more on the 4, and then we'll kind of focus in on the smaller ones for maybe those being your best colors. But what that is we have natural coloring in our skin. You can see it. You can see like a person has more olive skin or rosy skin. And what that does is our eyes will focus on the brightest thing first. That's actually just science. They will, you'll see a field and we focus on the red flower. That's what we do. But if we focus only on that red flower for too long, we'll get very tired. So our eyes are made to focus on the bright and then kind of pan out to the rest of it. And so when we're wearing coloring that is brighter than us, or we're brighter than the clothing, our eyes can get tired. It's not in harmony, and it can create kind of like a disconnect between your clothing and you. And so what will happen is we'll start to see shadows where there aren't any. Things will kind of go gray when they shouldn't be. And so wearing our colors can enhance our brightness, and it can reduce the need for more makeup. But you can just use it. Let's say, for example, you work somewhere and your uniform or what they require you to wear is not in your color thing. So then just knowing that it's not you don't look tired every day, and maybe just wearing like a lipstick color that's in your season or something in your season can really brighten you up. So it's just so much knowledge about not being so hard on ourselves when we don't look great, and understanding is where I find it that it's so helpful to know this information.
Yeah, it's so much more complex, right? Than I ever thought. I mean, 10 different body types, 12 different coloring systems. I mean, it really does underscore the uniqueness of each of us. And I think the point that you made about how, remember that celebrities have professional tailors hired to dress them and style them.
Yes.
And most of us don't have that. So when we're also playing the comparison game here, it's we're putting ourselves in a position that, we can't, it's a no-win position. And so also being honest about what it is we're working with.
Yes.
I think it's such a great, such a great point. Yeah. So Lisette, tell me a little bit about what you're offering now. Do you do one-on-one personalized styling? Do you do any other types of coaching work or work with classes or courses? I'm sure our listeners are wondering, well, what's my coloring, and help me out. What's my body type? Like, I need help.
Yes. So I do offer different things, I like to talk with the client first and find out what they're trying to what their goal is ultimately with the information. And that can tailor down to what it is that they need. But I do offer workshops. I can set that up with a group of, you know, a certain amount, and we can do a workshop where I talk about these things. I've done that before. And then individual one on one, even within the workshop. So I can go over a lot of the one thing I love to do in the workshop is get everybody's idea of what is a style rule and then sort of either debunk them or explain why that's a style rule.
So
And
can you give me
so
an example of what you mean by that? Like, what would be a style rule that somebody
okay, so one style rule that is probably my favorite is, if you wear wide on the bottom, wear narrow on the top, and something like that, or always tuck your shirt in, or don't mix patterns, or things that these are just simple style rules that people or wear all neutrals with the one pop of color.
and these might be style rules that someone's picked up, maybe, mom or grandma used to say this, or
Yes.
some celebrity did it once because it was a trend, and so it's a thing
Yes.
now? Okay.
Yes. Yes. And so whatever their style rules are at that moment. And what I like to do is explain. For example, mixing patterns is okay. It's not a no, but how do you mix patterns to honor once again your frame? Are you a very tall person? Are you a very short person? And we want to honor that because different dressing in different ways can alter the perception of you physically. And so we can talk about that. And then always tucking in for some people, that may be their best. Wearing high rise pants can be the best. And then for other people, they don't need to tuck in. And it all has to do with how is your body naturally built, and then how does clothes reflect that natural build to when we're looking at it. And that's actually more important than any rule that really exists. And so that's why I like to go over style rules, and I can do workshops with that because they can affect us so much. We walk into a store, we're already overwhelmed with, I just want to look a certain way, whatever that is to us. And then also there's all this color, and then like you said, the trends and everything else. And so I say, if you want to keep your look modern, that's great, but understanding your body and how clothes fits you is going to help you navigate so many options and really kind of narrow it down. Lessen the time in the fitting room, which is one of our least favorite places.
Mhm.
And
That's great.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's kind of it.
it's really, really helpful because you gave me a little swatch of little
Yes.
colors, and it was very helpful because I could go into the department store and I could immediately discount a lot of what was being trying to be
Yeah.
sold to me, like being merchandised to me. I was like, well, that's cute, but definitely not in my colors. Oh, so pass. Moving on. And it really does simplify the process so much, saving me a lot of time. And also, there's just so much freedom in that too. Like,
Yes.
once I think I was able to get to a place of comfortability with, like, you're never going to wear brown again, probably, like, ever. Andrea, just be okay with it. When everything became clear, like what fits me or doesn't, there was just so much freedom in that, knowing also that what I was going to pick out was going to look great on me, and by doing so, I would feel more confident, and I would feel more in my body. I would feel more myself. And ultimately, I think that's what this does. I've found it to be so helpful for myself, and so many great practical tips that I'm still using. And it's just fantastic. So I really appreciate you coming on, Lizette. And I would love if you could share how someone could get a hold of you if they wanted to and wanted to find out how to work with you. What's the best way to reach you?
Yes. So I do have a website. It is loveyourstylebyliz.com. I also do have an Instagram, which is also Love Your Style by Liz. And I do have the email address to get onto would be info at Love Your Style by Liz. You can contact me there. and we can set anything up. And also we can set up a small 15-minute session where we could just talk about things free of charge.
Amazing. I love that. And we'll put all that detail in our episode notes as well, so it's easy for people to access. But again, thank you so much. It did took a little time for us to coordinate this conversation, and I'm so glad that we did finally. And it's just making me think about all the things in my closet that I need to refresh, and all of the new items that I need to, all the ways I can organize my week a little bit better too, so that I can save myself some time. So thanks for all of this today, Lisette. It's just really great to see you, and appreciate all the work that you're doing for women everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you for having me on here. And I'm very, very honored and just happy to have been a part of that style journey for you, and that you feel more confident, which is ultimately the goal, is that confidence.
Fantastic. Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks, Lisette. Take care. Thanks for joining me on today's episode. If you'd like to explore what your life could look like when your business and life are aligned with what you're really meant to do, get a business audit. I'll personally review your business, look at your social accounts, and give you some precise direction on what's working and how to create even more impact and income. Simply go to AndreaDelaCerda.com, navigate to work with me, and select the business audit. Again, that's AndreaDelaCerda.com. Work with me, and then select the business audit. And if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like and subscribe. That way more content like this can be shared with you as soon as new episodes drop. Thanks so much for joining again. See you soon. Take care.